Hey everybody, welcome to another entry of the Hyrule Compendium, a series where we focus in on a specific topic in the Legend of Zelda. Today we are going to continue our discussion on the Divine Beasts, and we're going to talk about the Divine Beast Vah Naboris,
All right.
or the Gerudo one.
Yes, the Gerudo one.
So I guess first off, let's just talk about Gerudo Desert as a whole. Like, what did you think about that area?
One, I kind of feel weird that this area was called the Wasteland Tower area, and then there was another area called the Gerudo Tower area.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because there was like the Highlands, or
Yeah.
they kind of cheated. They made that it was almost one area.
Yeah. In a way, yeah. That bothered me a little bit, that Gerudo Town was not in the Gerudo Tower region.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Okay. So I did this area third on my playthrough. I did the Zora area, the Goron area, then I went to the Gerudo area. And I think you did the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel just overall, I felt the Gerudo portion, well, we'll get to the dungeon later, but I felt they should have pushed it so this was the last portion you went to.
Yeah.
Because I felt it was very hard. I thought the dungeon was the most complicated of the four, and we'll get to the boss later on. It seemed it was like a significant step up in difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But the lead up to the dungeon, I liked the. What did you think of the elemental factors of the desert? How at nighttime it became cold.
Oh yeah.
And
I thought that was great. I thought it was kind of challenging in some ways, but like the heat thing, because at first I didn't understand. I was like, okay, well I put on the Goron armor, and I was like, okay, I'm not fine, and then I try drinking fire resistance. I didn't quite actually understand at that point the difference between heat and fire resistance.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was a really good idea, actually.
Yeah, it makes sense with nature, I guess. So I had to. That was one of the few times where I actually had to cook up an elixir.
Mm-hmm.
And a character told you, stop at the stable and make sure and you get like some dragonflies or something, and it gives you heat and cold resistance depending on which one you drink.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually had to use that. So I felt the desert was. It was all right. I liked how they had the oasis right in the middle.
Yeah.
The Kara Oasis, I think it was called. Or Bazaar, was it?
I think Bazaar, yeah.
Oh, it was an oasis. But
Yeah. And that leads you into the Gerudo area. Well, you have to get the disguise, because they don't allow men in the city, so you have to kind of get the disguise from that one character and go in. And that's where you meet. I actually don't remember the name of the
leader of the Gerudo.
The leader of the Gerudo, but
I liked her.
Yeah,
I thought she. It was weird because she's like a child, but she's in charge of the whole Gerudo race. Has that happened before? Can you think of another?
Not off the top of my head. No.
Yeah, so this is the first time. I don't know why. I don't know if they talk about how she came to power, or is she a descendant of the Gerudo champion or not. But I felt that was kind of strange.
I believe they touched upon it a little bit.
Okay.
And that was a cool part of her story a little bit, was that, she was having to lead, even though they made it out to be that it was not common that a child would be leading them,
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Obviously, any more detail on that would have been even better, but just the concept enough was like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
I haven't actually ran around Gerudo Town and talked to a lot of the NPCs, so I haven't actually spent too much time in that region. So I don't know if there's actually additional lore.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably do a Gerudo Town video eventually. So
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, the character, she had good characterization, I thought.
Yeah, I liked her. I liked her a lot, actually. And this is totally off topic, but I've been watching this show called The 100, and
Yeah.
And it's the same concept. The leader is like some teenager, and they're all these like adult men, and they're led by a teenage girl. And
Oh yeah.
so I was literally watching that show exactly when I started playing Breath of the Wild. So I'm like, oh yeah,
That's a perfect.
she's the commander.
And then what you get sent? We kind of already covered the Yiga area,
Right? Yeah.
but that's to collect the Thunder Helm,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of funny seeing her wear that. It was so huge.
She references it, that it's too big.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But then we're given another one of those boss battles to get into the dungeon, and this was another one that was probably easier, I would say, than, or at least I guess less interesting than the one with Sidon.
Yeah.
But definitely a little bit better than the Vah Meadow.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's very actually. I think it was very comparable with the one with Sidon, the Zora one.
Oh, okay.
Because it was sort of the exact same concept, where you need to rely on her to, she protects you with the Thunder Helm with the little, from the electricity, but you need, to rely on her to get close to the beast, which is just like the
That's
water.
true.
And then instead of shooting it with shock arrows, you had to shoot it with bomb arrows, and you just shot its feet. I thought it was okay. I actually died once because I went out of the circle on accident. I wasn't at first I was trying to thrust forward or whatever with the sand seal, and I went too far ahead, and that corresponded right when lightning struck, and I died. But I realized after you just never press the button. You just hold forward, and you'll stay within the circle at all times, more or less.
Oh, right.
I liked the boss, the design. It looked like I think they're called the Imperial Walkers from Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. That's pretty interesting. What'd you think of the sand seal?
They were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept, at least for getting around in the desert.
Yeah,
I know you do some other side stuff with them.
Well, you can't. I don't think you can't bring a horse into the desert. I think there's an arbitrary barrier between, there's just rocks in the way, so therefore the horse can't get over the rocks.
It's no place for a horse.
Yeah. So you need some sort of, I guess, form of transportation to an extent.
True.
So the sand seals were cool.
Yeah.
The sand dugongs.
They're kind of funny. So yeah, when you actually get inside the Divine Beast, that's kind of what we were talking about, the difficulty of that dungeon's control gimmick that it had.
Yeah, so I think going back to the previous two that we've already talked about, when we're doing the Zora one with the water, it was very conceptually, I think it's easy to comprehend what's happening. Water's coming out of the trunk. Depending on where you move it, that's where the water is going, and that affects the dungeon. The wind one, it just tilts things. Easy to comprehend. I felt once we got to Vah Naboris, there's so many different patterns, because you have 3 different, I guess, turn styles or whatever they are, and they can each go in 4 different locations.
Yeah.
So when I first was playing through the dungeon, I was like, there are so many combinations here. It almost felt overwhelming.
Yes.
Am I gonna have to Fortunately, what I realized after the fact is, I realized I think you can actually just light up they have the green, the electricity, and you just put them all across the top, and it creates electricity flowing through most of the dungeon. And I think you can actually beat the dungeon without actually adjusting it at all.
Once you put it...
Yeah, other than there's the one that's in the box in the main room, that you have to get into it from the side.
Yeah.
Once you get that one, then I think you can just do the top, and then you don't have to adjust it at all.
Yeah, I felt similarly when I first started in that dungeon, because I just felt I almost stressed out, actually. I was just playing around with each one, just all the combinations you could have. I I kind of wanted to stop playing in the moment because I was just getting so overwhelmed. And then I think eventually, actually, you were like, "Oh, you only have to put them to the top, and then you're good."
Oh,
and
sorry.
No, it actually was like a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
Like that's one that, I mean, I guess it's nice, but it would have been nice if someone was like, "Oh, look what happens when you just put them up there," or something. Like, would have been way less stressful. Not that I'm complaining about that part. It was just definitely more dense of a puzzle, I think.
You really don't use it too much though, because well, at least the way I played. Maybe there's other combinations I don't know of, but I actually think outside of that main room, that massive room, I actually really like the puzzles in the dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because you get the electricity going in the top, and then it kind of continues. It's sort of linear in a way, but in a cool way where you're like, I'm powering up this whole beast, I'm like moving the electricity from room to room. Right. That was pretty awesome, I think.
There was the one puzzle with it's like I don't know what those things are. It's like a turnstile almost, it's like a cross, an X, and you just keep turning it.
Oh yeah.
And you have to get the power to go, and then it caused the big thing to, the puzzles like that are the whole dungeon was following the electricity flow, and all the puzzles were electric based for the most part.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool idea. Pretty distinct, I think, compared to some of the other ones too.
Yeah.
Where it actually tied in with the boss a little bit more too. Whereas, well, I guess there was water in the other one, but yeah, it felt a little bit more
like thematic.
Yeah. Whereas like in the wind area, it's just about like tipping it one way or the other.
Right. I also felt that this was the biggest dungeon. I felt there was a lot of layers to this one. There's the big massive room. There's the sides, and then there's that whole upper area with like the camels like humps with the vertical like There was a lot of rooms in this one.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other two that we've talked about, and even the third one, which we haven't talked about. In some of those, there's really only like 3 or 4 rooms in the whole dungeon. This one I felt was bigger.
It's cool too because it that's kind of like the point of the other ones is like they're just kind of these big interconnected structures. This one was still big like that, but every room was still like interconnected. Yeah, like you weren't really going to different rooms, but it just there were they did a good job of doing that. I think that's one positive to like these kind of dungeons over the traditional Zelda dungeons.
Yeah, that they're more connected, you're saying?
Yeah. And that they like as a piece of as some actual dungeon or beast, it like kind of makes sense. Whereas like in the other ones, it's like, okay, there's like all these doors with like key, like, I mean, they both have their merits, and I prefer the traditional Zelda dungeon, but I thought it was actually cool thematically how that worked. Yeah. So big positive in that. So
then there's good old
Thunderblight Ganon.
Oh boy.
He was really tough for me at first. I was having a hard time dodging his really quick attack, and then a lot of people were just saying, "Oh, just like hold your shield up or something." Eventually, what I started doing was the Fury or the Flurry Rush. Yeah. But apparently he wasn't as hard as he needed to be for me.
I thought he was exceptionally hard. I thought he was very hard. And I think I might have mentioned in the previous video, I messed up with, like, I didn't have Mipha or Daruk's abilities equipped because I thought I didn't know those regenerated. Stupid me. Anyway, so I was just going to it. It was almost like it was my first. Like imagine if you went to Naboris first. So I didn't have any armor upgrades. I was still running with, I think, 7 armor total. And I had like 6 hearts and no abilities. Right. So with that said, I died 20 times against Thunderblight Ganon. Mm-hmm. I eventually was able to get through the first phase fairly easily because you can just block and do a backflip. Mm-hmm. You do a flurry rush. I was able to get that down pretty well. The second phase with the magnesis, I like that phase with the.
Yeah,
You get
that
to,
was
like-
another one where it actually was unique and tied into the elemental. So yeah, definitely more positive than some of the other ones.
Third phase was sort of like a revisit of the first phase, except instead of attacking once, he attacked 2 or 3 times, and you had to be very precise with the flurry rushes, otherwise you're gonna get hit, or you
Yeah.
can do multiple backflips. But I found that phase to be very difficult, and I was so weak that I think every time I had to beat him flawlessly, because I think if I got hit once, I was dead every single time.
Wow.
Because I think his attack was doing more than 6 hearts of damage, and I only had 6 hearts. So, he's tough. He's a hard boss. I think universally people think Thunder Blight is harder than Wind Blight, Water Blight, or Fire Blight.
I would totally see that.
Yeah.
I actually, with the second phase, I, for some reason, didn't think about it at first. Like, I couldn't solve I was just running around like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I maybe accidentally, or I don't even remember how I even realized you could use magnesis. But I felt so stupid when I figured that out. Did not feel good that I had taken so long to figure that out.
Yeah.
But that made that difficult because I couldn't get past that part for a while, and then it was just a matter of the flurry rushes.
Yeah.
And then the way I did it was when I got to that third phase. That was when you actually recommended that I turn off Daruk's protection and save it for the third phase.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I learned the flurry rushes in the first one, then the second one, did that. And then when the third phase came around, it just Daruk myself to victory.
There you go.
So what did you think afterwards? What do you think of Urbosa, the Gerudo champion?
She was my least favorite of the 4, actually.
Okay.
I felt all I don't know. She just didn't do anything for me. I
Okay.
like Mipha's calmness. I like Daruk's. He's the powerhouse guy, and he's got a personality. And we talked about Rivali. Is it Rivali?
Yeah.
Rivali. He was kind of just an arrogant person. He has a lot of personality. Urbosa has some personality, but I just didn't feel invested in her at all. I don't know.
I thought she was like a strong character, but
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like for me, like all the other champions, you didn't get to see like too much of them.
Yeah, any of them you didn't. No.
Whereas like certain types of stories are easier to kind of get over the idea in a smaller amount of time. Like Link and Mipha, you only really needed the 1 or 2 scenes.
Right.
Whereas like I'd like to maybe even see more of Urbosa.
Right. What I'm getting at is Mipha, you knew she was a healer. That was her whole big ideal,
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to describe Urbosa to somebody, it's like, what is she?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. She's just a strong character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you tie in, their abilities to each of them, Mipha is a healer, so you kind of get healed. Urbosa's is you just get that powerful attack. So that's kind of, she's just like a warrior, which is cool, but it's maybe not enough. What did you think of Urbosa's Fury? I think that's what it's called.
I almost never used it.
Yeah.
I realized I know it's very useful in the later game.
Mm-hmm.
It's very useful against Calamity Ganon, but I didn't use it very often. In fact, I don't know if I ever really used it outside once or twice.
Yeah. I was same because it requires to do the same thing you do like the spin attack, and that's just not a thing I do a lot when I have to think about it to actually do it. It doesn't just come second nature. Whereas the other abilities, Mipha's just happens to you when you're down, or Daruk's is when you're blocking, or I guess Rivali's you have to think about, but you're always climbing. So.
Right, and that one is more practical usage too, because that's a big aspect of the game.
Yeah, maybe if you're more of a person who likes to electrocute things a lot, then you're always thinking about Urbosa's Fury, but
Yeah.
overall it was not.
It could be more useful too when when they eventually get the downloadable content and there's the enemy gauntlet, because that's more of a combat weapon, and generally speaking, there's actually not. I would not classify this as a very heavy combat oriented game.
Yeah, it depends on how you play it for sure. I could totally see someone who that's what their main focus was.
Okay, yeah.
Like, they just get a kick out
They see
of
an enemy and they immediately go after him.
Mm-hmm. They're like, where are all the Lionels? I gotta go kill them all, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's definitely not your play style.
I was.
We've talked
running away from
about
everything.
any situations where you had to deal with a Hynix.
Nope.
You've only fought one.
I didn't kill a Hynix until I had to open up a shrine. I didn't even kill it. I just stole the ball around its chest.
But you've encountered a couple. You've just not killed any of them.
You can. I think you can 100% this game without killing a Hynix. Oh no, you can't. But you can almost. Point being, I skipped almost all the Hynixes. My first entire playthrough, I did not kill a single Hynix, or a Stone Talus, or a Lionel, or...
It's amazing. So how does this area rank with the other areas for you?
I like the region better than I liked the Rito one. Mm-hmm. I like the music from we talked about Rito Village, but this area as a whole, I'm including the desert, the lead up to the desert, the Yiga area, and the dungeon. I like this better than the Rita, but I think it falls one step short of the Zora region. Okay.
All right. Well, we just got one more of these to cover, and we'll find out how that ranks for you. And let us know, like we said in other videos, the order you did these. Let us know your favorite areas, your highlight of this area, and also let us know what other topics you'd like us to discuss. And thanks for watching.